Hi there, this is Justin Krane, Certified Financial Planner Professional and founder of Krane Financial Solutions. Welcome to Money You Got This. So how can you really live? How? By uniting your business money, your personal money with your life and your business. Word up.
Krane Financial is an SEC-registered investment advisor. However, such registration does not imply a certain level of skill or training, and no inference to the contrary should be made. A copy of our current written disclosure statement discussing our advisory services and fees is available upon request. Information contained herein is for informational and illustrative purposes only, and general in nature. It should not be considered specific financial planning or investment advice, or a recommendation to buy or sell any type of securities or other investment products.
What is up, everybody? This is Justin Krane, welcoming you to another show of Money You Got This. This show is brought to you by Krane Financial Solutions. I'm Justin Krane. I'm a certified financial planner professional, and I offer investment management services and act as a fractional CFO to dentists and business executives. I'm the author of the book, Money You Got This. It is time to merge your money with your life. You guys ready? All right, let's do this. I'm psyched you're listening to the show. I want to give you this free report, 3 things multimillionaires do to grow their wealth. Just go to coolmoneyshow.com to grab it. That's coolmoneyshow.com to grab it. Thanks. Today's guest is a total mover and a shaker. He makes me look like I'm normal. His name is Dr. Chris Phelps. Chris, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
Excellent, Justin. How you doing?
Very good, very good. So let me just give everyone a little bio on what you're all about. So you work with professionals all across the country in helping them identify their marketing hurdles and showing them how to succeed and grow in a tough economy. In particular, dentists. You're a dentist. You're in Charlotte, North Carolina. You've developed something called Call Tracker ROI, which we'll hear a lot about. And you write for industry publications. And I think you won a Doctor's Choice National Dental Award in 2016. Sweet. That is awesome. So welcome. It's great to have you here. Let's start off with, how do you manage doing all of this? You're a clinician. You're a dentist. You help dentists. You help them market. You have some software. You're doing Colby and Cialdini. Like, how do you keep it all together?
Yeah, you know what? That's a great question. And a lot of people see it looks like I'm juggling a lot of balls at the same time, and they wonder, like, how did you get so good at juggling? And the truth is, I'm really good at, and over time have perfected how to find the right team members and support people who have strengths that are not my strengths. And I empower them to do their thing and bring me in as need be. So it looks like I can direct my focus at specific times. So I'm not really everywhere at once, just focused on any given one thing at any given time, which means I get more done. Me and my teams get more done than I could ever do by myself. So,
were you always like this, or did you learn this over time and create it more of like a skill based on kind of how you're wired?
Yeah, it's definitely something that as little seeds were there along the way that I didn't recognize until looking back. And it wasn't until actually I met Kathy Colby when I was doing my Colby certification training, this instinctive measurement of how you're built, right? Your natural strengths. And she told me, she looked me straight in the face when she looked at my 4 little numbers. And I said, hey, Kathy, I'm Chris, I'm a dentist. And she said, Chris, I'll stop you right there. You're not a dentist. I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm a dentist. I think I remember those 4 years of school kind of sucked. And she goes, no, your numbers tell me that you're an entrepreneur who uses dentistry as his vehicle. I was like, ooh, that's deep,
So I know what Colby is, but I want to hear it in your words. What is Colby and what is your score?
Yeah. So Colby, the way I describe it to people is, imagine a Ferrari driving down the road, okay, down the highway. And most of us would say a Ferrari is built for the highway, right? Just no speed limits, just let that thing go. It could go forever. Sometimes the driver of the Ferrari is your IQ, and that's your experience, your wisdom, your knowledge to date. It's your storage capacity. It's how fast do you learn. All those things make up your IQ. But basically your IQ is what you know what you should do. And sometimes the driver of the wheel is your personality, which is totally different, right? That's your motivations, your feelings, your thoughts. It's your birth order defines your personality. You're extrovert or introvert, pessimist or optimist. Your parents, your religion, your culture, all those things shape your personality. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, your personality is what you want to do. Okay, it's not what you know what you should do, it's what you want to do. And automatically, we know many times there's a conflict in us right there. We know we should do this, but I want to do this. And sometimes they're at odds, right? But ultimately, what's the car? Okay, and how is this car built? And so I ask most people this question: picture this Ferrari. Can you drive that Ferrari off road? And most people, when I ask that question, are like, no, you can't drive a Ferrari off road. It's crazy. And I'm like, well, technically, of course you can drive it off road. I know how to drive it off road. I've been trained. I just turn the wheel. Here we go. Right.
Yeah.
I may want to drive it off road. Or I feel like I want to go off road, do something different. Let's do something exciting. Switch it up. Here we go. Woohoo. But ultimately, we all know what's going to happen the longer that car drives off road. Is it built for that? No, it's going to crash. It's going to break down. Something's going to happen. So ultimately, that's what Colby measures. It measures the car. It's how you're built instinctively. Something that's set by the time you're age 7 doesn't change your entire life. So if your job, task, and duties fit who you are instinctively, you're the Ferrari driving on the highway. But if they don't fit who you are instinctively, doesn't mean you don't know how to do it. Doesn't mean you don't want to do it because you need a job or you're motivated. But if you're not built to do it, you're driving the Ferrari off road, and it's just not sustainable. So
it helps people get clear on who they are and validates how they're wired.
Exactly. For me, it was I read Jim Collins' book From Good to Great.
Yeah.
And talk about getting the right person in the right seat on the bus, and it was a great concept, but I didn't really understand, well, how do you know this person's the right fit for this seat? Or how do you know if they're a better fit for this seat? And Colby was the first thing that gave me language to describe both of those situations. And also sometimes, unfortunately, when we got to help somebody off the bus. Okay. But ultimately getting down to what you're really good at, what you're wired for, what you're built for, and stop messing around with the rest. Stop trying to prove your weaknesses when there's other people that can do that better, faster, more efficient, and buy back your time.
Amen, brother. Amen. What is your score?
5483.
Oh my God. All right. Let me tell everybody who you are. Okay. You will do some research, but you're not going to research something forever. You'll research it and read enough to figure out how you can make a decision. And you'll follow through on some things, but you're not that kind of person that's going to follow up on every single little detail. You have people for that. But where you really excel is coming up with an idea and running with it. You probably have thought of 10 business ideas per day to really make a decision and to roll with. So you're a quick start. Like I use this analogy, like I live in LA. So like if a buddy of mine calls me up and says, hey, let's go to Vegas, I'd be like, I don't know. I got to think about what the weather is. What do I got to do later? Like, what am I going to wear? Blah, blah, blah. You would be like, okay, I'll go and I'll figure it out as I go. That's how you're wired. I love it that you're a quick start. I wish I was a quick start, but I'm not. But I hang out with lots of quick starts. What was the last score? 548 what? 3. Wow, you're low and you're a dentist on that. That's interesting.
Yeah. Which means for me, the only thing I know how to fix is teeth. Otherwise, I got a guy for that.
Exactly. So I don't want to spend gobs of time on the Colby thing, but for those of you listening, I'm talking to someone that has 4 or 5 businesses going right now, and he is not following through on all of them. He has people that can prevent things from falling through the cracks, from implementing an idea and making it sustainable and executing. So I love Colby, and when I saw that you were a Colby guy, I was like, wow, that's awesome. So that's how you keep it all going.
That's how
that you have follow through people and fact finder people that keep it going on your behalf. So let's talk about one thing that I see that you're doing a lot of and that you help dentists with a lot, which is marketing. Yeah. So the obvious question is like, why do dentists struggle with it? Like why do they have such a hard time marketing?
Well, I think the root cause is we trust, but we don't verify. And we really haven't had marketing training. We're not really marketing experts. And nobody taught us how to do that stuff. And the dentists of old never had to because they all went in network and didn't have to market, right? So they just said, hey, just put your name up on a shingle and people are going to come. You're going to be fine. And the reality is that's not the case, man. And the more our industry changes, the more you need to understand this whole marketing thing. Fortunately for me, it was just always one of my interests, one of my hobbies, one of my passions. And again, the classic sign of the quick start is we don't know till we try. So I tried everything, shotgun approach, and got in there and just really tried to figure out what was working, what was not. And, like when I don't go looking for a problem, but when I find one, I can't shake it till I figure it out. And I mean, like Fact Finder 10, really figure it out and solve it for good. And, necessity is the mother of invention. I'm spending $36,000 a month in marketing to get 60 patients, and that's a problem. And there's nothing against dentists. We're not trained in what to look for, what to say. And I wish that the marketing people, especially the ones I've trusted in the past, knew what they were doing. But I feel like they're really good at selling us on their marketing, but that's about it.
So have you created your own frameworks for dentists to adopt and implement?
Yeah, well, what I try to do is I have a whole 2-day video on just trying to teach them how to be the CEO of their marketing department. Okay. So again, we're not going to design this stuff, and I'm not going to create my own radio ad, but I still need to know what needs to go into it. What's the message going to be, and how do you define that for those groups? How do you take something where they just list your services, which nobody even reads, and turning into something that people care about? A message, a headline that grabs their focus and attention and makes listeners or readers stop and go, oh, what's this? Instead of just ignoring it, so to speak. Mm-hmm. How to add more influence to the stuff, how to track it so you know if you're getting a return or not, and how to correct lost opportunity. If you can't answer the phone and make an appointment, well, you can spend all the money in marketing in the world. It's just a loss. It's a waste.
Yeah, I think about marketing is the money is in the follow-up, in just getting a plan and working it. So what would you say to a business owner, in particular a dentist, that's like, I've tried all this and it doesn't work? Why do you think they're not fully investing in it and giving up after like 2 weeks?
Well, part of it is that they didn't track it. Okay. They didn't really get the data they needed. Maybe they trusted someone else to track it. But again, it's not in that person you just hired to shoot themselves in the foot. So if their data is bad, they're not going to share that data with you, right? Because they're going to give you just enough to keep you going. So they didn't really track it and get the data they needed. Otherwise, they would have found what the real problem was. And most of the time, it's on our team side, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. We're not answering the phone. We're not making an appointment. So all they see is what shows up in their chair, which is no one. And so they instinctively, they're like, well, this sucks. This doesn't work. Yeah. The other reason why maybe it is the advertisement side, maybe a lot of calls weren't even generated because all of the advertisements say the exact same thing. And with the consumers these days, when they're getting 12 to 15 different dental marketing pieces every month now, and they all 15 of them say the same thing, the patient has no way to differentiate them. They can't tell them apart. So the only way they have to tell them apart is what? Our price, which is why we get all these price shopper calls.
So, and you've created Call Tracker ROI to help the front office convert prospects into patients?
Well, I created a Call Tracker, number one, because I wanted to be able to track marketing, an independent, unbiased company to really tell you the state of the union. What's working in your marketing, what's not, and why. Okay, from the ads not generating calls to maybe it's not the right quality person, meaning somebody who's going to spend and pay your full fee, not nickel and dime you. Maybe we'll still be here in 7 months, not on to the next special, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So a better quality person. Or is it the other side of the coin? Maybe the leads are good and the quality of the patients are great, but we're just not answering the phone and we're not converting. We're not making an appointment. Okay, so there's really two sides to this marketing coin. So the tracking service is to track and report on that. And if it's the team's problem, I've created a couple solutions to help them answer more calls, and also have phone trainings included to help get their conversions up so they can give every marketing opportunity the best possible chance.
So it could be the lead gen or it could be the conversion on that opportunity. And are you helping them with the copy and the messaging and the ad?
Yeah, any of my clients, they know they can send me their advertisements from whatever medium they're using. Yeah. And I'm going to give them my advice and tell them what I think should stay, what needs to go. Obviously, if they watch my video, they're further along in their education, so they can do a lot of it themselves. But yeah, I try to help them any way I can.
So let's back up a little bit. You have how many offices now? How many locations?
Well, technically, right now I'm down to 0.
Wow. You going per diem in one?
I've gone from 4 locations and just sold my last one. Yeah. So I'm trying to do a new model for dentistry. And to do that, I had to free up my time, effort, and quick starts. We need motivation, right? So there's nothing like digging a hole for yourself and figure out a way to climb out of it.
Those are the quick starts.
Yeah. So I sold them all over the last couple of years after I built them up. And now I don't have to worry about banks anymore because I can be the bank. And now I'm investing in trying to build dental offices in retirement communities. How to use mobile equipment, not on wheels per se, because that's not really scalable. If your van's down, you're screwed. You don't have an office, but utilize their existing spaces just sitting there. Nobody's using it very well. And let me turn it into a makeshift dental office. I can put 4 chairs in there. And if I do that in 20 communities, I got 80 chairs and my team's always rotating around. So the chairs are always full somewhere. Okay.
Interesting. So let back up a second before we get to this mobile thing. You had 4 locations, right? And I think you grew them like not double digits, $1 million per year for like 3 or 4 years, and then sold them.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really good at startups and turnarounds, right? Really starting them from scratch and getting them to capacity, or buying them up and then getting them to their maximizing their capacity.
What are some of the common problems that these practices are having, of which you're going in there and you're like, well, there's these 3 things that need to be set up the right way? What are some of these common challenges that you see these practices having? And then what have you done in them on your own to get them to a point where you felt like you could sell them?
Yeah, we reverse engineer it. So it first starts with communication and educating the team, the other associates in there, if there are some, on how to talk to people, how to use the principles of influence and persuasion, this idea of persuasion, really dialing into the top 5 reasons people really say no to us, and how do we make our strategies that more people say yes, not around the excuse we get from people after they say no, which is, well, you're too expensive, because that's what everybody makes their strategies around. Well, they want a deal, so let's give them more deals. They want a sale, so let's discount it more, right?
Sure.
But if you back it up and do more things differently first before you ever get to the ask on the price, suddenly the behavior changes, okay? So number 1, it comes from that, because if we can't even convert what we've got and more people coming back for treatment, we got nowhere to go. Then I usually use that revenue to invest in the team and making sure the team are in the right seat on the bus, making sure they're doing what they're strong at, okay? Making sure there's no conflicts there, so that I've got a team built to grow, not a team built to do it the same way they've always been doing it, which is typically what we tend to hire. The next piece of the puzzle is, now I got the team ready. Now we've got people, we're converting more people back for something in treatment. Now we've changed the marketing. External, internal, grassroots. It's a nice mix of all. Pump it full of an endless number of new patients, and it's amazing how fast you can get to capacity.
So it's communication, people/team systems, and then like marketing, turning the hose on to bring in more patients with the infrastructure there to support it.
Right. To track, make sure we convert every lead.
So let's talk a little bit about persuasion. Like I literally, I'm going to say this on my show, and like, you can't tell anyone. I have not read Cialdini's book.
Okay.
I have not read it, but I've heard so much about it, and I know so much about it. I felt like I wrote it, but I haven't. I'm not him.
Right.
So what is the story here? Why is this book so successful? And how can anyone use these principles of persuasion and then this persuasion, which you've got something cooking there? What's going on with all this, and why is it so important?
Yeah, well, the influence book has been around for 34 years. Okay, it's not a new concept, but it's a tree that's built. It's like one of the oaks out in the California redwoods, if you will, that will stand the test of time. Because what Cialdini figured out in his research, and what he did was, it was started with a curiosity, where he was sitting there literally at his desk at Arizona State University, and he had bought a box of chocolate bars, like the people sell for fundraisers for their kids and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he's staring at this whole box of chocolate bars that he bought, just in amazement, like, why did I buy this? Because I hate chocolate. I don't eat chocolate. But yet something influenced me to buy this thing, to say yes. And so he got curious, how are the best of the best influencing us to say yes? And so he just went out there and signed up for every kind of sales training that anybody would hire him for. Door-to-door sales, like the Old Mills photography guy, new car sales, used car sales, high-end ad agencies in New York and LA. He interviewed cult church leaders to see how they influence people in kind of an interesting way, to do some interesting things. And he was just looking for patterns. What was the best of the best using? And 6 key things just kept sticking out to him. He saw the pattern. And that's what he decided to do his research on, and prove these concepts with behavioral science studies, that these principles of persuasion actually exist. And it is actually what we're spending the majority of our time tapping into to make our decisions. I mean, they're the fundamental building blocks of society, right? It's why society is even formed. Mm-hmm. Without it, we fall into chaos. So,
I actually just thought of something that you do that is so smart. I do it, but I haven't done it with these two. But you're implementing it across, the different patterns, and you're probably using it as you build out these mobile locations. So if you look at something like, actually, let me ask you a question before I make this connection. When it comes to marketing, who did you learn from and study from that was like, just like the acts of marketing, like your favorite marketer that you learned the most from?
Believe it or not, I can't say there's any one person because I never studied anybody.
Mm-hmm.
It was all the school of hard knocks,
Really?
me getting in there and having my own opinions and drive and trial and erroring a lot of stuff and
Got it.
looking for things that would work. And then adding the missing piece, which was adding the influence principles to the ads, just took what I already knew to a whole other level.
Yeah. But my point is, think about what you're doing here with Cialdini and Colby. These are two proven systems that work, that are not yours, that you're just running with and implementing with.
Yeah.
You're using and by the way, there's nothing wrong with this. I actually have done this with Dan Ariely. Do you know who he is?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God. You got to read his book, Predictably Irrational. It's amazing. He looks at all of these studies about why people buy, pricing. Like, I've done so much work on pricing, but the common point I'm making is you're taking someone else's work and legitimizing it and using it in your own business with your own systems and growth. And I think that's really, really smart. And I just want to say, for the people out there who are like, oh my God, I can't use Cialdini's stuff, it's his, or Colby, blah, blah, blah. This stuff is made for us.
Totally.
It's made for us to use.
Yeah. And I think the big disconnect people have is they understand the concept and it makes a lot of sense in the moment, but we're not as good on the application side. They get a barrier. Well, what do I do with that? How do I put it in practice, And so with my trial and error nature, that is not a problem. I'm just going to do it until I figure it out.
So let's just wrap up about your mobile stuff. And I guess on a financial standpoint, are you going into one market and just investing in it, or you have like 4 or 5 going at one time? Have you set it up the right way, or are you just trying one out first? What are you doing with all that?
Yeah, you know what? The hardest thing is to get the first one, right? It's the principle of consensus. We look to the evidence, what others are doing, to show what we should do. But ultimately, nobody likes to be the first to step out there, okay? So it's not really a proven concept. Nobody's doing this, because I'm not talking about assisted living and nursing homes, because there's already people doing something with dentistry in those models. I'm talking about going to active independent living communities or graduated care places where the number of independent people who can come and go as they please outnumbers everybody else by 10 to 1 or 20 to 1 in that community. So that's part of been my challenge to getting off the ground, is that they like the idea, but they don't even understand the concept. Like they'll tell me in a meeting, we got to have this, but we have nowhere to put it. And I'm like pointing at the cafeteria that's never used. And I'm like, give me half of that. You've got the space just sitting here. That's what I'm talking about. So trying to reshape their mindset on what I can do with what they have has been part of the barriers. Now, some of them get it. Like, I've been talking to one community, and they're actually building a medical building on site in their community. And they're giving me the dental contract, and they're paying for it. They're paying for the 4 ops. They're paying for the equipment. They're paying for everything. All I got to do is show up with the team, okay, and not screw it up.
Wow, that's great.
They've got like 46 other properties in 7 different states that I can expand to.
That's amazing.
Right? So there's all kinds of ways you can do this, whether the community's paying for it or you're paying for it. That's what I'm trying to figure out. And then the logistics of it. How does it support us? Is this some community can support me 2 days a month? Is it 2 days a week? I don't know. I'll find out.
Let's get into the mind of a quick start here. You have this idea. And then what do? Do you just like wake up one day and start making phone calls and start reaching out to communities and start talking to the people that are running them and be like, hey, I think I can bring this to your community? Is it that simple?
It's that simple. Well, first I figured out, went to the equipment side and said, is the equipment already available for me to do this?
Yeah, sure.
The steps are there that I can just go buy it and plant it, and I can do my thing.
Yeah.
Or am I going to have to create it, right? If I was going to have to create it, that would have been a problem. But The structure was there. I knew if I could just buy it, that's what people are using mobile equipment for anyway, for charity events or the Army, right? Why can't I do that? So then it comes from me just going and leveraging my relationships with existing patients that live in these communities and trying to have conversations to get things going until I work my way up to find a decision maker.
I love it, man. I love drafting off of quick starts. There's nothing that gets me more stoked and excited to see you guys in action. I love it. I mean, I do stuff, but like you guys, you're an 8, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. Where can dentists and business owners go to find out more about you?
Well, there's all kinds of places. You can go to drphelpshelps.com is always a good one.
That's PHELPS, drphelpshelps.com.
Yeah. You can check out the influence stuff at guidethemtoyes.com. Is where the influence stuff is. Of course, calltrackerroi.com, goldengoosescheduling.com. I have more websites than I care to admit.
He's a quick start, people. He's going to. Well, we'll put all of those in the show notes, but for one of you, just to remember, Dr. Phelps, PHELPS, helps.com. Chris, it's been great having you on. Thank you again. Have a question? Want to get in touch with us? Need some help and advice with your finances? Just go to coolmoneyshow.com and reach out to us. That's coolmoneyshow.com.
Krane Financial Solutions is an SEC-registered investment advisor. However, such registration does not imply a certain level of skill or training, and no inference to the contrary should be made. A copy of our current written disclosure statement discussing our advisory services and fees is available upon request. Information contained herein is for informational and illustrative purposes only and general in nature. It should not be considered specific financial planning or investment advice, or a recommendation to buy or sell any type of securities or other investment products. No investment decision should be made based solely on any information provided herein. We do not provide legal, accounting, or tax services. We recommend that all investors seek out the services of competent professionals in any of the aforementioned areas. Certain information provided has been obtained from third-party sources that we believe reliable. However, it's not been independently verified and is not guaranteed.